Hello, Pan. In this short screencast, I'm going to give you feedback to last week's summary. So let's begin. First of all, let me say that this is a very well organized summary, quite well written, as usual. First sentence has everything, and it is stated succinctly and argumentatively. It's actually quite a good first sentence. The conclusion is also succinct, and it's quite well organized. The main body also, you mentioned the three characteristics and the three recommendations that you give, so that's really what you need to do. So very well written overall. I would just say you do have 200 words, so you could try and expand a little bit here and there. Some of the characteristics or some of the recommendations that the speaker gives, and that can take you up to 200 words, just to make some of those supporting ideas a little bit clearer. Okay, so let's start. We have biases, eradicate, that's very good. There is a need to address, yes, it's a really well put. First sentence is very well written. First of all, he offers to recognize an implicit bias. I think the plural is better overall. Throughout this summary, the plural will work better. And gives three characteristics of it. Okay, try to use, instead of numbers, this is appropriate when you write notes, but in a summary here just use words, and you can use cohesive devices like firstly, secondly, thirdly, or furthermore, additionally, Hockett states that, something like that. Biases, right, in plural, work at the subconscious level. Okay, that's fine, that's a good explanation. Secondly, they are opposite to our conscious beliefs. Sure. Maybe here you could expand a little bit. They are opposite to our conscious beliefs. Right? Maybe expand a little bit. And the third one, you definitely do need to expand here. It has automatic mental associations. So the speaker does mention that, but you do need to explain how it works. What was he saying? Something like, when we see a person or an object, and we immediately form these very quick, very rapid automatic mental associations with that person or object, and that triggers our bias. So maybe if you can explain that a little bit, that would be helpful, because just saying it has automatic mental associations, that doesn't really explain it. After that, he provides three reasons, again you want to use a word here, why it is crucial to be concentrated. Yeah, okay, that's a very good kind of bridge between the two halves. The first one discusses characteristics and the second one recommendations. So now let's see what the recommendations are. And you've done very well here. Firstly, secondly, and finally. Okay, that's good. Why it is crucial to be concentrated on implicit biases. Firstly, it will help to recognize a problem with race and difference issues. Okay, I would say you can still say it a little bit more clearly. He was talking about how we need to develop an awareness of our own biases. First, we need to start from the inside. We need to, he calls it, diagnose the problem. You don't have to repeat his words, obviously. Actually, it's better not to. It's better to use your own phrasing. But you can say something like, first we need to develop an awareness. We need to start by developing awareness of our own biases. Something like that. Secondly, implicit bias can be both predictive and preventive by using special tests based on our mental associations to recognize it and habitual practice to eliminate it. Yeah, here this is, you need a parallel structure. I'm not sure and habitual practice, that's a noun, right? But the and implies a parallel structure, so I'm not sure what the other noun is. Where is it? Implicit bias can be, that's an adjective. By using, yeah, this is quite ungrammatical overall. And I would say it's not very clear because it's not the bias that is predictive. Our behavior needs to be predictive. Our approach to biases needs to be predictive and preventive. And he did mention these tests, but I think that's not so important. That's more like evidence or an example of the type of behavior that we can engage in. But really the supporting idea that you need to stress here is we need to engage in predictive and preventive behavior. If you want to repeat his words, just these two terms you can. But it's not that the bias is predictive. Our approach to biases should be predictive and preventive. And what does that mean? It means basically we need to be able to predict how likely am I to experience a bias in a certain situation. And through self-analysis, if I realize that that this situation can potentially trigger my biases, I need to do everything possible to avoid them. So that's what it means by predictive and preventive behavior. And I think you need to explain that a little bit better without mentioning the tests. The tests were just an example of one thing we can do to develop this internal awareness of our own biases. So this whole thing needs to be made more clear and more grammatical. So just make that clearer. We need to engage in predictive and preventive behavior. We need to be able to predict situation in which we're potentially likely to experience biases and do everything possible to avoid that, or something like that. You can say it in your own words. And finally, a resolved bias leads to diminishing shaming caused by racial dividing. Yeah, he did mention reducing shame, and you've used your own word. It's always good to use your own phrasing than repeat the speaker's phrasing. You could just say, and finally, or Hockett's final recommendation, or finally Hockett recommends. So what is the recommendation here? Again, you want to make that a bit more clear. Basically, he was saying we need to engage in honest discussion about our own biases. When we openly admit our own biases, then we can start fixing the problem, something like that. So honest discussion, that's the third. Honest discussion without shame or guilt, right? That's the third recommendation. In conclusion, Hockett claims that if we resolve, right, you do need a subject here. If we resolve our implicit biases, you need a comma after that, and again you need a subject here. That will help to make external changes in issues about, yeah, I'm not sure. He does mention external change. Yeah, you do need to make that a little bit clearer as well. So basically his recommendation is that we need to start from the inside. We need to work on our own. We need to resolve our own implicit biases first. Start working from the inside, and then you can make positive change in the world or something like that, in society. But overall, again, that's a good summary. So I hope this was helpful to you, Ulpan. Good luck.